why the MiG-21 is still in service. It is not clearly understood by the general public, especially when MiG-21s crash and lives are lost, sir.
First of all, good afternoon, Shiv. My condolences to the families of Wing Commander Rana and Flight Lieutenant Bal. Fatal accident is just not acceptable. Accidents do happen in the Air Force, but the fighters are fitted with ejection seats and you're supposed to get out. I mean, a fatal accident is just not acceptable, and I just pray that they get the fortitude to bear the loss of their loved ones. Having said that, let me answer that question of why the MiG-21s are still flying. The MiG-21s are still flying because the replacement has not come. You know how long it has taken for the MMRCA deal, and that too the government had to shortcut it and sign a contract for 2 Rafale squadrons. We have ordered 2 LCS squadrons which have come, and we have ordered 4 more LCS squadrons. After I retired, 1 more squadron of Su-30 was erected. But the question is, the aircraft still have total technical life left, and our squadron strength is very low. So we cannot afford to phase them out unless we get a replacement. As and when their total technical life is getting over, that particular aircraft is going out of service. It is not that. My squadron, my aircraft type 96 is out of service. But it is there because it's a necessity. And second thing, let me assure you here is, every aircraft that flies is fully serviceable. At the age of 62, just about 15 days or 20 days before my retirement, I went and flew the MiG-21. Yes. Why will I take such a risk if the aircraft are not serviceable? Aircraft which are offered for flying are always serviceable and flyworthy.
Air Chief, are you saying that, while there is technical, life left in these aircraft, the fact that these aircraft are still in service is because a replacement hasn't come, which means that this is a compulsion. It is the circumstances, the delays you're saying of a replacement aircraft to come, the fact that, procurements have been plagued by politics and delays and all kinds of things. You're saying that the Air Force has had to hold on to the MiG-21s longer than perhaps it would have liked. You would have liked to perhaps phase them out earlier, you're saying.
You are right. We would have phased them out earlier if the replacements are available. You don't phase out an aircraft with technical life left after you have modernized it, unless there is a new aircraft which is going to come which is far superior to this particular aircraft. We have invested money and modernized the MiG-21 to a MiG-21 Bison.
Yes.
And crash, unfortunately, which has happened yesterday, is a trainer, and that is the older version of the MiG-21. It is not the Bison.
In your view, sir, crashes are always complicated affairs, and like you said, fatal accidents are unacceptable because there are certain safety features, including in the MiG-21, like ejection seats. They are complex issues. Court of inquiries are very, very complex issues. But in your view, sir, this was a night flight, 2 pilots in this aircraft. What could conceivably have gone wrong, sir?
Most probably, probability of a bird hit are low. So it will either be a technical defect or it will be a human error crew. Now, what is going to be the cause, I should not prejudge it because that is for the court of inquiry to find out. But only thing what really pains me is the pilots did not get out. They are supposed to eject, and I have also ejected. But that is what the ejection seat is supposed to get out of. In the end, you are supposed to get out of the aircraft if it is beyond your control, for whatever reasons. And but let me tell you, when that aircraft was offered for flying and the 2 pilots signed for that aircraft and taxied out, it would have been a fully serviceable aircraft.
Yes. Keeping in view the fact that this was a fully serviceable aircraft, sir, how does one explain to the public, the general public perception, that the MiG-21 is crashing more than other aircraft, taking more lives than other pilots? Is that a justified reputation that the MiG-21 has? It's a very troubling nickname. Things like, flying coffin, which are very unsavory phrases applied to an aircraft. But how would you answer people who say this is a justified reputation that the aircraft has because it's still killing pilots?
No, first of all, let me tell you, MiG-21 has had one of the highest figures in accidents because it has been in the largest number in the Indian Air Force.
Yes.
It has served the longest. My aircraft, Type 96, which phased out in December 2019, was inducted in 1975. The MiG-27, which was inducted almost 10 years later in 85, also phased out in 2019. So the span of service of the MiG-21 has been very long. Number of aircraft have been very long. The flying that done by MiG-21 is very long. If you take the rate of accidents, that is per 100,000 hours of flying, then it is not that the MiG-21, I mean offhand I can't tell you the figures, but it is not that the MiG-21 has the highest rate of flying accidents per 100,000 hours of flying. So it is not that you can, and flying coffin means what? I have flown the MiG-21 all my life. I was flight commander of a squadron in Jamnagar for 4 years. We lost 2 aircraft. Yes, we lost for bird hit over range. Otherwise, 0 accidents. I was station commander in Nalia for 2.5 years. 0 accidents. I was commanding the squadron in Bathinda. 0 accidents. Only is, yes, we lost Ahuja in the Kargil war. He was shot down. But otherwise, we had 0 accidents. So it is, you can't, I mean, if it was a flying coffin, in such a long career of mine, I should have seen many more accidents.
Yes.
It is not true. It is, yes, compared to the aircraft that it replaced, the Hunter and the Nat, the Hunter, it is a slightly unforgiving aircraft. It requires a lot of skill. And you have to be on the ball at all the time, as compared to the, you can say, the previous. And the subsequent aircraft are far easier to fly. You see the accident record of a new generation aircraft. Like you take Pilatus, the basic trainer. We flew, when I was the chief, it flew 100,000 hours without an accident, touch wood. Okay, so the new technology comes in, touch wood, LCA, touch wood, biggest success story. Okay, they have not had an accident in their entire flight test program. It's very, very creditable to ADA and the National Flight Test Center. Otherwise, you look at the other aircraft in flight testing, how many aircraft have we and pilots have we lost in other aircraft that were inducted into the Indian Air Force?
Yes.
Okay, so new technology is obviously far safer and far better. And this is an aircraft that was designed as a high altitude, high speed interceptor to shoot down American bombers. Now you are using it for everything. Obviously, you are not flying in the envelope that the original designers wanted you to fly. Why are you doing it? Because you didn't have any other aircraft. And we are making the best of whatever we have got. So to say that it is a flying coffin, I don't think so that statement is correct at all. And why will I fly a flying coffin 15 or 20 odd days before I retire? Am I stupid?
I'm glad you clarified that, Air Chief, which is why I asked you, because I think the public needs to hear it from someone no less than a Chief of Air Staff. Also, since you've had an overview about, procurement, planning and replacement, sir, by when would you have liked the MiG-21s to be phased out completely? Obviously, they're being hung on to because the replacement is not there. Like you explicitly said, you would have liked to replace them earlier. By when do you think India should have said goodbye to the MiG-21s, sir? And what attempts did you make when you were chief? Obviously, the replacements did not come on time.
No, when I retired, I think the plan was, I think next 1 or 2 years they should all go. But as the total technical life of the airframe will get over. And the LCA, as you know, we have signed a contract for 4 more LCA squadrons. So those LCA squadrons will start coming in. So our numbers will also not go down. It is, you see, you are short of numbers. You have an aircraft that is fully serviceable, that has been modernized. It has got life available. You can't throw away a car just because, and you do not have any car. You got to fly that same aeroplane, you got to fight with it. You see what happens at such a short notice. Pulwama happened, did you think about it before that? 1 week before that? No. Then what happened after that? We had 26th and we had 27. You see what has happened in Galwan? Suddenly you flare up. So that time what do? You can't write off, wind up all your squadrons and then suddenly say, no, I don't have aircraft. You do the best with what you have got. Unfortunately, the replacements have not come. And politics. The 2 squadrons of Rafale, you saw how much politics was there behind it. And the 114, like you said, multi-role fighter aircraft, it's an urgent requirement because we don't have the aircraft. As simple as that.
I want to ask you a little bit about the politics of it, Air Chief Dhanoa, because you were in office during the time when a lot of politics were being played over procurement. What kind of effect does that have, sir, on those delays? And obviously there's a direct correlation between those delays and the fact that you have to hang on to aircraft that should have been retired.
You see, whenever you politicize the defense acquisition process, everybody gets overcautious. And every file which you should move in, say, 1 month from one table to another will start taking 6 months. Because now everybody is scared. It always happens. I mean, you are doing the biggest. If you have some evidence, something, please do something and prosecute the people and send them to jail. But if you keep just throwing muck without having anything in your this thing, and then you delay the whole process, you are doing a great disservice to the nation, and especially to the armed forces and our military capability. So it is this which causes you to, why are we flying the aircraft? Because we don't have any other aircraft. As simple as that.
Do you think with the Tejas fighters, finally going to start, entering service, the second deal, I mean, sir, plus the prospective deal for over 100 foreign fighters, the multi-role fighter aircraft acquisition, you think with these now on the horizon, things will stabilize and, the retirement of the MiG-21s won't be further delayed?
The Tejas, we have already signed the contract.
Yeah.
So they should be coming. If there are no production delays, Tejas we already signed. Multi-role fighter aircraft, I know we are going about the same rigmarole all over again.
Yeah.
Trying to re-evaluate another aircraft. But I don't know. You have to press. Someone has to press the fast forward button and get it. Otherwise, you don't know when the next crisis will happen.
Yeah.
And that particular period of time, you should not be again fighting an F-16 with a Bison.
Can the government fix this if it wants to quickly, sir? I know this is a complicated matter. I don't want to oversimplify it because these are not things that can be changed overnight. But a lot of angry young Indians especially, sir, they're asking, why can't the government just take a hard decision on something like this and say, look, we will do this in a time-bound manner, get the Indian Air Force slightly more modern fighters that it needs so that we can speed up the retirement of these MiG-21s, because like you yourself said, you would have liked to retire them much earlier than wait till the end of their technical life. Does the government have the power to end this situation, sir?
The government, obviously the procurement process is controlled by the government.
Yeah.
This is a question best answered by them, because there are a lot of it to it, and there's a procedure. We have become, we have become slaves to the procedure. I think the national security priority has to override that, and you have to take a call. That is all that I can say.
One final, just two more questions, Air Chief. Pilots flying the MiG-21 today in service, many people ask, how would they be feeling? Would they be nervous about flying the MiG-21? Like you yourself said that, before they get into the cockpit, the aircraft is completely fit to fly and certified. There is no suspicion, there is no two ways about whether the aircraft is fit to fly or not. Having been in service, having been a pilot through your entire life, having flown so much of the MiG-21, what is the mood in service after an accident of this kind, sir?
Actually, after an accident, what happens is the next day everybody flies. This is one of the traditions of the Air Force. Unless there has been a grounding because a technical defect has been observed and one-time checks have been ordered across the fleet. Otherwise, normally the tradition is that after an accident everybody flies. And it is a part of the game. And the thing is, I always maintain accidents will happen. This fighter flying, it will happen. Only thing, fatal shouldn't take place.
Yes.
Then that is very, very sad. And as far as what I have always seen is that this is not the first time, we have come to this crisis. This
Yes.
crisis comes to us again and again. And the reason why it is coming to us again and again is because now you see the aircraft is towards the end of its total technical life. The number of technical defects has increased a hell of a lot. Maintaining them is very difficult. Show me one car on the road that is as old as the MiG-21.
Yeah.
You don't have one. So now how are we maintaining it? We are maintaining it because of the skills of our maintenance branch and the overall facility that we had set up in HA. That is how we are able to maintain it. But it is more of a necessity than you can say, would I desire? The answer is no. Do I have to do it? Answer is yes.
You're being very candid, Air Chief, and I expected nothing less from someone like you who calls a spade, and I think that's what India needs to hear at a time like this, you know, not a sugar-coated kind of version of events. So I'd like to ask you my final question, Air Chief, which is to all young Indians watching right now, you know, either those who have just entered service or those who are in the flying academies or in the academies or looking at the Air Force as a prospective career, what would your message be to them, sir? Because I can tell you since last night, whether it is on Instagram, whether it is on Facebook, whether it is on Twitter, whether it is on messages, people are angry, they're confused, they're looking for answers. As a former Air Chief, addressing people who might want to be in the Air Force and future fighter pilots, what would be your message to them, Air Chief?
No, Air Force is a very professional service. Flying is conducted in a very professional manner. All aircraft that are airborne have been signed serviceably, and there is no shortcuts being taken, because in this game you cannot take a chance. Remember MiG-21, there was a time when we were doing our training, MOFT, MiG operational flying training was being carried out in MiG-21.
Yes.
Because the advanced generator had not come. Now Hawk has taken its place. So all those accidents in the training centers, they have reduced because those pilots did not have hours. We have got a few squadrons left, and people who come there are very, very well trained. I mean, Hawk is a fantastic training platform from which most of the people do come to the Bison. So it is a I'm not saying it's a very safe flying environment, but it's a military flying environment. So and it's a very professional service. You know, you should be very proud to join it.
Air Chief Marshal Birender Singh Dhanoa, always a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thank you for being honest and taking all of these questions. I know many of these questions have complicated layers, but who better than someone like you who was in the hot seat on these very issues only a couple of years ago to answer them, to reassure India, to clarify and give people the information they need to process a terrible tragedy of this kind. Like you rightly said, it's not the first time it has happened. We can only pray that it does not happen again. Air Chief Dhanoa, our pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you very much.